שלום לכולם. אז אני רוצה לדבר על תעשיית הרכב, איך היא משפיעה על הסמיקונדקטור, ומה שקורה עכשיו בסמיקונדקטור מבחינת שינויים בשוק, ואחר כך איך פותרים את הבעיה. I want to ask if you should go in English or Hebrew, any preference for anybody? Somebody needs English? Okay. So I'll go with English. So I'm going to talk about how the self-driving cars and the connected cars, all these electronics going to car influencing the market, and then how do we deal with it in the semiconductor industry. So again, all the drive-by-wire, then ADAS, self-driving, sensor fusion, connected car, all of these are making huge changes to the car industry. Mostly that we have more and more electronics inside the car. If you look in the car now, like the Tesla, it has much less mechanical parts than the traditional cars that we use now. It's more electronics, and the content of electronics inside the car is today, on average, reaching $400 on light vehicles and $1,000 for luxury cars. So this is a lot, and this is causing a lot of changes in the industry. And the main change is that we have more semiconductor companies going to this market. Even Intel is now doing automotive chips, and we have this huge list of NVIDIA and CEVA. Everybody wants to do now automotive chips that they have not done in the past. This is causing, again, increase in the market size. But from the other side, we have very high requirement on reliability in automotive. We don't want our cars to suddenly stop working because the chip stopped working. So, and from the other side, if you look at the aerospace, they have lots of redundancy and lots of mechanisms to prevent mistake, but it's very, very expensive. In automotive, we can't pay for expensive mechanisms like in aerospace. Historically, the automotive semiconductor industry has refused to go into advanced silicon technologies. So they stayed in old technologies like 180 nanometers, 95 nanometers, and so on, because these technologies are more known, reliable, and they are always hesitant to move into less reliable and more modern and new technology. From the other side, and especially now with the self-driving cars, we have increased need for performance. We want the chip to do more calculation inside the car. We're now even talking about artificial intelligence algorithm running inside the car. So you have the car running lots of algorithms and calculations and so forth, which is forcing these, that's called lazy semiconductor companies, into the new era, to moving them into new technologies. So if companies in the past was okay to stay with the old technologies, 180 nanometer, and do automotive chips with that because of reliability, now they have to move to the new technologies, and these new technologies has, in general, they are less reliable than the older technology. Basically because the transistors are very small and they are more sensitive, so based on the size of the transistor. Because of all of this and because of other reasons, a new standard called ISO 26262 has evolved. First release was in 2011, and now it is the standard in the market that if you want to put the electronic system inside the car, you have to comply with this standard. So let's talk a little bit about this standard. It's called the Road Vehicle Functional Safety Standard. This is the term, functional safety. And it governs all the electronics and electric components inside the car. This would include the semiconductor, our chips, software, PCBs, electronics, systems, everything. Anything that electronics, it needs to be certified to the ISO 26262, assuming it's doing mission-critical operation in the car. For example, if you're doing the brake system, it's different than if you're doing the infotainment. Again, the first version was released in 2011, and version 2 is work in progress, expected in 2018, and Optima is also participating in this standard. If we look deeper on the standard, we have 5 levels of, it's called safety integrity levels. So your chip, your software, your feature in the software need to comply with either SLA, B, C, D, and there's also QM. So these are 5 levels of quality or functional safety that different components will have within the system. Example, the brake system will be, of course, in SLD. Infotainment will be QM, and maybe the windshield will be in SLA. So different components will be required by the OEMs or the car manufacturer to be at certain level. The process goes by the OEM dictating requirements in different parts of the car, and this goes into the tier 1 and then tier 2, which are the semiconductor companies, and then the results go back to them. Now, to determine which level different components need, it depends on the exposure. What is the exposure of this thing happening? What is the severity or potential of harm? Like brake is different than infotainment. And what is the controllability? What can the driver do if this thing happens? For example, if the window opened by mistake, the driver still can control the car. Maybe if the ABS stops working, the driver still can drive the car with the brake system. If the brake goes, it's a different story. So that's the controllability part. So what are the problems that we are dealing with? We are mostly talking about 2 categories of problems. The first one is soft errors or transient fault. And the other one is hard error or permanent fault. So soft errors, it's caused by nuclear particles coming mostly from the sun, cosmic ray. So these electrically charged particles coming from space, penetrating the magnetic field, hitting the chip while it's working, and they are flipping bits within the chip. So the chip now has 0 at in some flop, it will go to 1, and this error can propagate and cause the system to stuck, or make the wrong decisions, and so on. But if we go and do reset for the chip is perfect, it doesn't have any problem. But maybe it will stop working until we detect this. So the question is, can we detect it fast enough before we are causing accidents? The other category of problems is hard errors, or permanent fault. So this is permanent damage to the chip. It can happen either due to the previous lecture, heat, pressure, and so on, or maybe radiation coming from space. But we're talking about permanent damage happening inside the chip. Some transistors stop working. It's called also stuck at 0, stuck at 1, bridging fault, and so on. So 2 categories of faults. Either of them can happen to the chip. And the methodology that is recommended by the ISO 26262 is the following: prevent. You need to try to prevent all these errors from happening from the first place by using special technology, special flops, wider transistors, and so on. Correct. Try to build mechanisms to correct the error as fast as possible within where it happened. Detect. If you cannot prevent it and you could not correct it, at least you need to detect it, to know that something wrong happened. Because we need to inform somebody higher in the level, maybe the software or the other chip or the other system, that this chip has a problem, you need to take a measure. And recover is the implementation of what should the upper level do when the problem happens. So if we discover that the brake system, the ABS system stopped working, maybe the upper level software will decide, okay, I'm going to disable ABS, but I still have brake system working. In terms of, if you talk about chip design, how do we do prevention, correction, and detection? The prevention we can do using flip-flop level hardening. So instead of using normal flops, we use special kind of flops. They have wider dimension, they have more tolerance for soft errors, for example. Or we can do selective flip-flop hardening. This means that instead of hardening all the flops and using more silicon, maybe 30% more silicon, in selective hardening we are using 10% more silicon to solve the problem. So this is prevention, and there are other methods. On the correction side, we can use TMR, triple modular redundancy. For example, three pipelines doing the same work, and we compare results between them, and then we do voting. So we take the results of 2 and the third is over 2. So if one of the 3 has a mistake or has a fault, we simply ignore it and we use the other 2. So TMR can be done either at float level, at unit level, core level, chip level, anything can be done. However, core level or chip level is very rare in automotive. We see it more in aerospace, for example. ECC is also a good way to correct faults inside memories, correct? Also, parity can detect errors, and maybe one of the main mechanisms used in automotive is Luxton. So we have 2 CPUs calculating every cycle, everything, and we compare the outputs of these 2 CPUs, 2 codes, cycle by cycle, to know that they are doing the same thing. Once we find the difference, we have detected that there was a fault. So for the ISO certification, we need empirical data. We need to prove to the auditors that we need to provide empirical data for the auditors. What does this empirical data include? First, what is the residual fit rate? And what we mean by this is after we corrected and we used all the correction mechanism, PCC and TMR and selective hardening and so on, what is the probability now of faults happening? Okay? Usually it's measured in fit rate, failure in time. It's about failure in 1 billion hours or something. So residual fit rate, how often the chip will fail after we have did all our correction and correction mechanisms. Then we go to coverage. When a fault happens, do I have the right mechanism to detect it? What is the coverage of this mechanism? Will it capture for me 90% of the faults or 99% of the faults? So it's the probability of my detection mechanism finding the problem and detecting it. The next level is how fast can we detect it? Like if I'm doing very complex calculation to decide I detect the problem, it's taking 10 milliseconds, maybe it's too late. Maybe the car has already made an accident while I'm doing this calculation. So how fast the detection happens is very important. And then how effective the safety mechanisms are that will decide to do the right thing. So after we answer all these questions and we have empirical data for these questions, we can determine what is the AC level of this feature or of this subsystem. Is it QAM, A, B, or C, or D? Again, D is the highest, QAM is the lowest. So this is the poor chip designer designing chip for automotive. And now in addition to synthesis, static timing, and all the things that he or she has to do, now he has more tasks to do. Task number 8 is soft errors, transient fault. We need to measure duration, perform selective hardening, calculate fit rate. Then we go into building safety mechanism, as we discussed before, Blackstep, diagnostic software, ECC, parity, and so on. Then we need to measure the safety mechanism coverage. As I explained before, how often, how many faults do we catch out of what is possible. We're also supposed to try to improve this coverage. If the coverage is too low and it doesn't meet my requirement, I need to improve it. So how can I improve it? And then they need to produce reports for the auditors about what was done for the chip to enable to get certification. So what Optima does is simple. We take the design, either RTL or gate level. We take our safety goals. What are the pins in the chip that are not supposed to have any mistake? Coverage goals, what are the detection mechanisms? And this goes into our tool, it's called Cosmic ASIC. We do all the calculation, and then we produce sensitivity report for selective hardening, safety mechanism coverage results, ASIC calculation, audit trail, and so on. And all this is done using our RFID technology, which is working between 50 to 100,000 times faster than the competing solutions. Why it's important? Because this calculation that we perform, if done not with Optima, it's very compute intensive. Each step of these steps here can take a month or months, sometimes years of calculation. So it's a big problem now in the industry. How can I perform the fault simulation to get these results that we're looking for? So, and what our solution is, we come with an algorithm that does this in a very fast way, 50,000 to 100,000 times faster, and we can do the job within a day or hours instead of weeks and months. So in conclusion, we talked about the automotive semiconductor as an expanding market, many new players entering this market. New silicon technologies are being used in this automotive, which was not traditionally there. We have high reliability requirement enforced by the ISO 26262. Talked about ISO 26262 requirement. To meet it, you have lots of computation to do, sometimes measured in hundreds of years of servers running, and optimize the solution to do this. Thank you very much. If you have any question, I'll be happy to take it. Question?